Guys, what's up? I'm back again with another review, and this time we're taking a look at a figure that not many people have shown actually. This is the Spiderman Origins Iron Spider, because there is no Marvel Legend currently out in the market. And as you may have noticed, this is not how he looks. This is kind of my take on a custom repaint with some metallic gold and red there. Believe it or not, I actually found a nice metallic red that was the exact, or almost exact same color as this guy came in the packaging. So let's get into the review. Alright, so here he is, guys, and like I said, this is again my take on a custom paint job. It's my first time doing it, so obviously it's not going to be flawless, but I think it turned out pretty darn good. Now, first off, if you're looking to get a figure that represents this guy from his look in the comics, then you pretty much only have a choice between this guy and this guy right here. And choosing between those two, I would recommend this guy, just because if you don't feel like repainting it, then you have something that stood pretty close to how it looked from the comics. Now, as far as his actual, deco and paint job, that came with him in the box, you could kind of see a couple, spots that I didn't get with my gold paint yet. So right there gives you an idea of the yellow that's in place of the gold on the figure when you get him out of the package. Aside from that, I think that everything else is, basically spot on. He's got 3 of these tentacles, if you want to call them that. There's some more yellow patches there I haven't hit yet, just because I don't want the paint to screw up the joints. But I know he does get 4 of these at some point in the comics. But anyways, moving on to articulation. Obviously, this is a much older figure than your modern-day Marvel Legends, so you don't have that articulation that comes with, like, the Pizza Spidey figure or whatever. But there still is a decent amount. And I think the best part of its articulation is probably, this is going to sound weird, but the fingers. They still kept those individually articulated fingers in here, so you can get him doing a whole bunch of stuff with his fingers. You can flip somebody off with a shiny metallic finger. You can do the classic Spider-Man web hand pose like that. And I know, like, he had these stingers in the suit, I think, like when he did this, that came out of the forearm or something like that, I think. So you can also represent that in your collection. Now, moving on to the rest of the articulation with the figure, it's pretty standard. Now, the joints might be a little rough when you get him out of the package, and in addition, if you paint him, then he's probably going to be even stiffer, but nothing a hot blow dryer or hot water can't solve. But yeah. Head rotates 360. He does have some ab articulation, not the best. He goes up about that much, so you can get some nice dynamic poses in there. I did wish that they had kind of like, the repulsor blasters from, that Iron Man has sculpted into his hands there, because, this is a suit based off of Iron Man's suit, hence the red and gold. Logo looking very nice there. I'm glad that they went all the way up under the ab joint here. So, like, if you did get him to look back like this, or pop back like this, you didn't miss out on, like where the hell did the logo go? Anyways, he doesn't have a waist swivel, which is one of the biggest hindrances of his articulation. It's really bad because, with a figure like this or a character like this, you probably want to have him some dynamic poses. That's not going to let you do that. So that's a little minus on that figure there. This figure. Moving on to the shoulders, he does have, shoulder articulation, but it only goes up about this far. It could be worse, but it could be better at the same time. So let's go ahead and move that back down. Really rigid there. He's got a nice bicep swivel, which is nice. He does not have forearm swivel, which is an annoying little fact about this figure. As well, he doesn't have a wrist swivel, so his hands are pretty much stuck like this. You need to manipulate them by moving the biceps. He does, however, have a double jointed elbow, which is nice, because if it was only single jointed, he would even have less articulation, obviously, and less dynamic posability. Moving on to his hips, he does have a nice hip joint here. Kicks up about this much here. Not too bad. Again, could be better. Moves back down to where it should be. He has thigh swivel. He does not have calf swivel, but he does have a double jointed knee, which makes up for some of his posability here. He has no ankle rotation, but he does have an ankle joint as well as a toe joint. So, what you lack in the major joints that you see in the modern day Marvel Legends, you kind of make up for a little bit in the finer joints in the figure. Now, moving on to the back side here. The tentacles, which are a neat feature on this figure, I do wish they had a bit more articulation in it, because that would have been cool. Like, if you could replicate that that pose from the comics in Civil War when he's kind of like on Captain America's shield, that would have been insane. But being an older figure, you don't get that. So we're left with, what is it, 2 points of articulation per tentacle. So, I mean, the furthest point of articulation moves in about that much, moves back out. Same thing for the second one here. You can move it at that much, and it doesn't really look natural there. It looks kind of like an awkward angle in the curve, but it is what it is. Straighten it back out. Lastly, with the tentacles again, you can actually position them different with respect to a little ball joint that goes in. Now, one thing that's kind of annoying about this figure is if you wanted to position the tentacles, like, you know, facing 3 different ways, because why not? It's a little bit of a pain in the ass because the ball joints are really rigid, and I don't know if it's just for this figure in particular or all the figures from the Origins wave, but like you kind of have to like ratchet it by really trying to wrench it in there and gripping the figure in your other hand, obviously. But it is possible, so that is kind of a saving point. So being a Spider-Man Origins figure, he does stand a little bit taller than 6 inches, which I think works out quite nicely for this figure because, again, he is in a mechanized suit instead of, like, you know, something made out of fabric, so you can expect a little bit of a height whenever robotics are involved, I think, anyways. If you're looking to complete your, you know, Spider-Verse little representation and display, I would definitely say go ahead and pick this guy up, but I wouldn't recommend overpaying for him. I wouldn't pay over maybe, you know, 20 bucks for him. So yeah. So guys, that's my little review on the Spider-Man Origins Iron Spider. Hope you liked it. Feel free to check out some more of my reviews by clicking right there.